Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Take It to the Max. I'm Steve Hart from IT Desk, joined today by a good strategic partner of ours, Chris Ennetts from Optimise Cyber Solutions. Good to have you here, Chris. Again, for anybody that doesn't know who you are and who's Optimise are, just want to give us a quick rundown.
Yeah, cheers. Firstly, Steve, thank you for having us. I'm just saying what a great setup. Yeah, I'm just admiring your setup here.
Cheers, mate.
It's fantastic.
Appreciate that.
Optimise, we are a cybersecurity awareness training company formed on the back, really, on my experience. So I used to work in government, did 21 and a half years. I was the UK's leading cyber incident coordinator at the National Cybersecurity Centre. What we found was that a lot of companies were getting hit by cyber incidents. We were helping them manage and recover. However, we wanted to do our bit to try and help them and look at how we can prevent them happening in the first place. As you know, it's kind of your game as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
We formed Optimise Cyber Solutions with the intent of preventing cyber incidents from happening in the first place. Looking at people, so people focused.
Yeah.
And delivering training to people, making them what is classed as in the industry as the weakest link and turning them into what is now the strongest link.
No, I love it, man. I say we, for anybody that doesn't know, we partnered with you guys to deliver cyber awareness training. I mean, partly because, you know, the stuff you deliver is great and your credibility from the sort of, you know, your background's, you know, massive. I think it, you know, holds a lot of weight, and, you know, it was quite a cool story to tell people as well, and, you know, sort of, you know, where you sort of come up through.
Yeah, it is kind of strange. I gave a talk not long back about something called imposter syndrome, and it was at a Cyber First convention. And it's not until you look back and see some of the achievements you've done.
Yeah.
I remember once I was delivering a brief in a Cobra meeting, and I was sat outside, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm just a lad from Barnsley here. What credibility do I have to be sat briefing the PM in a Cobra brief? And you give yourself a pinch, and actually, you have earned that credibility. You do know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's one of those, you kind of naturally go through life. I mean, when I first started, I was a mechanical engineer.
Yeah.
And if you'd have said to me I'd be on computers, I'd be saying, no, not a chance. And then fast forward 22 years, and that's kind of the industry I've come into. I love it with a passion as well.
Yeah, no, I think that shines through, mate. Every time, you know, I've sat with you, we've had, you know, chats, you know, just in general, or you've been delivering a session, you can tell that, you know your onions, you're passionate about it. And I think, you know, that helps what can be seen as maybe a bit of a dry subject be more engaging. Certainly, you know, from, you know, some of the you know, the end users and customers we deal with have got very little awareness on what, you know, what cyber threats are out there, unless like we've sort of specifically sort of delivered the information to them. So I think it definitely helps in sort of what you're delivering.
For sure. And as you say there, what can be and perceived to be a dry subject, I always say when we go out and deliver training now, it's one of those where we're going to succeed, because when we go in and deliver training, everyone is expecting it to be dull, to be boring, to be asleep within 10 minutes. But then when you turn the training into realism, and they see it can impact not just them at work, but their families, their loved ones, themselves. And it really hits home, and you see the penny drop. And then when people interact, it's fantastic. And you get people talking, and it doesn't have to be technical. Cyber's not technical if you don't want it to be. And it's good to see, you say, people just taking their 1-2 things at home and just protecting themselves, really.
I think you've just like sort of hit the nail on the head there. People hear the word cyber and think it's technical, but I think the awareness part of cyber awareness is the most important thing to focus on. It's the amount of you know, incidents that could be avoided if people are just aware of some sort of, you know, a lot of key, very simple warning signs to look out for. You know, we see it with some of our customers, you know, and, you know, you'll have certainly seen it. You know, the most common, obviously, where this stuff happens is these sort of phishing attacks. Can be quite advanced, but again, there are quite sort of simple things people can look out for
sure,
that will just avoid this stuff. I mean, from your point of view, what would you say is kind of the top 3 things to sort of, if you know, if somebody who doesn't know anything about cyber awareness should maybe look out for?
Cool. No, great point. And I think what I'll first start with is kind of how we work together and why both our roles are important, and then the key bits with us. So with cybersecurity, I always explain to people, cybersecurity is three elements effectively. It's people, it's process, it's technology.
Yeah.
And the technology I see for an MSP, they manage it, they look after it, they provide everything that's required and needed from a technology side point of view with regards to cybersecurity safety. And the way I explain this to people is think of it as a house. I always say you can have a house that has the best alarms, the best burglar alarm systems, intrusion detection system, locks on windows, locks on doors. That's a technology. Without that as a starter, as a fundamental, then you can't protect yourselves. And that's where you guys come in. You guys provide everything that an organization needs to protect themselves.
Yep.
However, the people side of it is where we step in, because you can have all those systems, what you guys introduce and implement. And if someone's going to give you the key, and if someone's going to give you the alarm system or even open the door for you, then everything that they've paid for and implemented is kind of negated.
Yeah.
So we see kind of the three main key themes. Phishing, everyone's heard of phishing, but it's become so sophisticated now. It's not just a matter of sending out millions of spam emails hoping someone takes the bait. That's always going to happen. However, with the introduction of AI, deep fake videos, using things like ChatGPT to foster emails, learn business language and tone, it's very, very easy now to trick people. And it's a matter now, we say, of when somebody falls into an incident, not if they fall into an incident. So the key one for us is phishing. Then we look into things like passwords. There's been lots of changes with kind of the way people have and manage passwords. Historically, we would have one password or two passwords. It would gain us into a system and then allow us to be able to do everything that we need to do. Now, unfortunately, everything is either software as a service or a different application, all have multiple passwords. And we find that the most common mistake, and some of the exercise we run, is that people are using the same password over and over again. And once those passwords have been compromised, it's just a matter of time before the rest of the accounts have been compromised as well.
Yeah, I think that's something we're keen on enforcing, that people, as much as it's to the discuss sometimes, that you can't have passwords written on Post-it notes. You do need to change them regular. I'd say that's definitely one of the biggest things we see. I mean, I think it's quite good timing you sort of coming on having a chat today with the sort of the still ongoing situation with M&S, which is quite high profile, sort of in the news. I think the cost thus far to M&S from the cyber attack is about 300 million.
Crazy, that, isn't it?
Which is, I think people never think it's going to happen to them.
Yeah.
But, if it can happen to M&S, it can literally, I mean, they won't, have scrimped on their, perimeter infrastructure security.
For sure.
Some of the software that they use. I mean, I've done a sort of little bit of digging around. I don't think any of this is confirmed. I don't think it probably will be confirmed for some time, but it does appear like this probably was down to a social engineering attack.
Yes, yeah, I've read the same.
Yeah,
people. It's been caused through people, and it's not always. I think a key point when we say it's caused through and by people, it's not always intentional.
Yeah,
and nobody. Well, I know of nobody that gets up in the morning and thinks, "I want to really mess up today. I'm going to go into work and try and cause damage today."
Yeah.
It's one of those people are just trying to do their job.
Yeah.
Under pressure, under a position where someone's manipulating them, and they've just accidentally given that wrong information, and that could be down to something as simple as lack of training, lack of awareness, too much pressure at work, etc. And I think with regards to the training side, we really emphasize on this, and we say, historically, so the way we deliver training now is through a combination of however's best for that organization. It can be through face-to-face, which we prefer. 90% of memory retention is done face-to-face. I think everybody agrees that trying to learn something through e-learning alone, e-learning has its place, but it's not as effective as face-to-face. When you talk about companies like Marks and Spencer's, I pretty much, it's making an assumption here, but I can't imagine they had all their staff members in doing face-to-face training impractical.
It's quite a big a big project to deliver just on a training front, wouldn't it?
For sure, massively. But what we try and push and what we're trying to focus on is building a culture, building a cyber awareness culture, and that will be top down. So right from the top, bringing that culture and that message down. So delivering your key individuals, so key people within the workplace, and then supplementing that with some kind of e-learning training as well. So that full 360 kind of look. and making cyber awareness training interesting and not just them generic videos that people watch and tick box, etc.
Yeah.
But as you say, if a company like M&S with all that investment and all that infrastructure and all that protection, if they can get hit, then what are the chances of your SMEs got?
I mean, the biggest question it raises to me, and again, I'm not in a position to criticize M&S's infrastructure or security policies. From what you were reading out in the media, it appears like somebody's maybe hoodwinked somebody on the service desk in terms of resetting some passwords, and you just got to wonder, it's like, and I think about this from our point of view. It's like, well, one, is MFA rolled out in the right place to protect those people, and two, what more can you do to verify the person that you're speaking to is the person that you're speaking to?
Yeah.
I think, if MFA was rolled out, that's probably a good, if they're also asking to reset their MFA, that would be certainly alarm bells, I think, for
sure,
for a lot of people. So it's like, kind of, is that in place? And what else could they do if somebody's ringing up and kind of, posing as a user that's in a bit of distress, needs to get something out the door, and they're just saying, can you reset the password? Is there anything that you'd sort of say?
Yeah, well, funny you should say that. We did an exercise. I'm not going to name on here, but we did an exercise with a local authority, and I was speaking with someone very senior in that local authority over a coffee, having a catch up, and I said, how secure are your systems? And the individual was very blasé, tongue in cheek, but very blasé, saying, yeah, we're good, we're in a really good position. I says, I bet I can get into your system within 30, 35 minutes with permission, if allowed.
Yeah.
And I was given the green light, and we, first of all, looked at social engineering. We looked on LinkedIn. Once we looked on LinkedIn, we found an individual that was working in some kind of consultancy sales role with people like that always showcase across LinkedIn, tell them about you, what you can be doing, etc., giving away a little bit too much information. So straight away, we was like, okay, let's have a look at this individual. We did it collectively. We found that individual was going to be at a certain place, certain time, which says to me that they're not going to be in their office at a specific time.
Yeah.
So long story short, we created a fake video using AI, cloning that individual's voice, obviously with permission, and we called the out of office up and asked them to do something and to send us something that they wouldn't normally be allowed to do. So playing on emotions, the way we worded the message and the voice and the call and the email was pretty much to be asking for a favor, trying to help somebody out. And us as people, we try our best to help people, particularly in this kind of current state where everyone's busy. So they did their best. They thought they were doing the right thing, leaning out of the policy a little bit, and that actually fell foul. And we did actually come to the position where we could have gained access.
Yeah.
So within 35 minutes, and that's a large organization with probably a lot of money spent on their tech as well.
Yeah, it's a scary sort of, well, I think, like, touching on that sort of the deep fake stuff and sort of impersonating people's voices, because again, looking at how we deliver a help desk service right now, the guys do get to know particular users sort of better. There'd be users that are in positions of authority to authorize changes that may be quite important, but because it's coming from that person, if it sounded like that person as well, where's the line to kind of where do you not?
For sure. And you came along to one of our training sessions yesterday, which was fantastic, and we kind of pushed that message of challenge everything. I think as someone that runs a business now myself, I would rather one of my employees question and ask me to confirm before doing something out of the ordinary. If it's within policy and things seem fine and it's normal day-to-day practice, stick by the rules. If you've been asked to do something out of the ordinary, just challenge it. I would much rather praise someone for saying thank you for challenging that.
Yeah.
And I think changing that culture of a blame culture and turning it into an open culture where people, if they do make the mistake, can put the hand up and say, do you know what, I think I've made a mistake. As you know, within your game, time is so critical with cyber.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, the sooner it's reported, the sooner you can act upon it. You don't want to be in that position where you kind of feel a little bit too nervous to report, and then you've left it too late, and then the cyber instance, it's expanded.
Well, I think, like you say, the time is such a massive factor. I mean, looking at M&S's current position now, or the perceived current position, should I say, where it appears that they're still sort of battling to. Again, from what I've read, it seems like there was obviously the social engineering attack to basically gain access, and then there's been a form of malware ransomware run that's ended up encrypting a load of virtual machines. Obviously, it's ground, trading to the whole online. Stores were disrupted. The longer that would be allowed to. I mean, M&S, sizable business. I'm sure I've got from what I've read an element of cover in terms of insurance wise. But again, you kind of look at that and think, well, if that had happened to a smaller business, is it?
It's crazy, isn't it? I think there's a stat out at the minute where 90% of small UK SMEs, small UK SMEs that are hit by cyber incidents go under. And the reason why you don't hear about it is because these small SMEs that are just starting, these new startups that fall victim, they've not got the voice, they've not got the credibility, they've not got the position in the media, and they just trickle away in the background. They simply can't keep going. I was working. I received a phone call maybe about a month ago now, where it was a company that had been trading for 30 years. They'd not had any IT support. They'd done everything internal. They'd done it themselves. And they got hit with some ransomware, and their business folded after 30 years.
Wow.
They just simply couldn't continue without their client list. And then they were scared of getting hit with fines from things like the ICO. You just think to yourself, that's just so sad when it could have been prevented, and it's not through malicious intent.
Not at all. And I think, me yourself are kind of either, as I don't think that there's an endless pot of money for security and things like that, but there are things that with a bit of time and effort. I mean, I'm a big believer of just get yourself through Cyber Essentials because even if you've not got everything in place now, it'll open your eyes to right. Well, I need to get that sorted. And if you tick enough boxes to kind of show that you're taking it seriously and you're taking reasonable steps. I think that, the big word there is reasonable steps.
For sure.
With Cyber Essentials, you've got an element of cover there. And touch wood, it wouldn't mean closing doors, but it might just help weather the storm if you are unfortunate enough to be targeted by this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm asked a lot, actually, what is Cyber Essentials? It's banded around a lot. And when we're going out doing our marketing, I get asked the question, what's Cyber Essentials? And I always say, think of it as the MOT. It is kind of the minimum baseline, what your organization needs to meet, the minimum criteria to say, actually, you are safe to operate. It's there for a reason. It's not expensive, very little cost, and you get some perks with it. You get your cyber insurance, et cetera, and it shows credibility to other organizations.
Yeah, I think it's important to know you don't. I mean, we will help our clients through it, and we'll provide it as a service. But you don't have to be working with an MSP to do it. You can go and do it off your own back. There are the tools and the guys to help get you through it. So I think, like you say, it's that base level really that everybody should be taking seriously, sort of in this day and age.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for us as well, our training, we have it's basically in South Yorkshire. A lot of your customers, a lot of our customers are in South Yorkshire, which works brilliant. We love to work local, and there's funding available, and take advantage of that funding. I mean, at the minute, Skills Bank, they're offering up to 70% funding for the awareness training that we provide. Take advantage of it. Use it. It's there. It's funding there for you to help upskill your people. Why not do it?
I'm not just saying it because I think certainly with that available in the South Yorkshire region, it's a bargain. What you provide and the knowledge that you sort of give at that point, it should be a no-brainer for most people, because it might just open your eyes, or certainly if you don't work with an IT company or an MSP at the minute, or you don't necessarily have a strong technical resource, it might just make you aware of something that you can sort now, which is going to save you a lot of headache, a lot of time and money in the future.
Not only that as well. I mean, going back to say the services that you guys provide. I mean, you're my MSP.
Yeah.
We're a small company. We don't have a lot of machines. I haven't got the time to be able to do the things that you do to protect my network.
Yep.
I haven't physically. I know what needs to be done. I probably could do it, and I'm sure there's lots of other companies out there that are managing their own and getting through it. But for me, for the cost, what it takes, and the peace of mind, to have someone that I can actually turn to and go, do you know what? I'm in a position here. Can you help with this? Can you help with that? It just relieves the pressure from me, and I think that's why I think it works hand in hand. If you were to say to me, Chris, what would you recommend any organization doing? I would say employ an MSP to manage everything for you properly, go through Cyber Essentials and undertake some cyber awareness training. That way, you're pretty much protecting yourself right from the start.
No, I think that's great advice, mate, for anybody who's listening or watching. I mean, on the M&S thing again, from what I've read, it seems to be, and these are a group I've not heard of, come across before. It seems to be an organisation called Scattered Spider, which it seems to be the group involved, which also I believe have targeted Co-op recently.
Yeah, there's a lot popped up at the minute.
Yeah,
there's a lot on the news as well. In fact, we were just in there today. We just prepped before we come into here. I heard on the news that North Face and Cartier have been hit as well. Just had a quick research as well. So that's another two.
Same group or different group?
I didn't see the group.
Right. Okay.
Victoria's Secret's another one.
Right.
But they're coming up all the time now. And you're finding these groups, because something else we teach as well is the motivations behind these attacks.
This is what I was trying to get to, because it's like, again, with the M&S stuff, it's quite disruptive to food supply. Same with Co-op.
Yes.
So what do we think that is purely, well, we're just going to hold them to ransom,
it's purely financial. It's purely financial. They with cyber threat actors nowadays, everything's about money motivation. It's organized crime, and it's looking for ways to exploit. Historically, a lot of organizations pay the ransom, and this fuels that kind of cycle, because let's say the ransomware were M&S have lost 300 million in the first week. Let's say they were offering 150 million, and they make all the problems go away. There's a lot of organizations, if they knew they didn't have the financial backing like Marx's have, they're going to go, well, do I lose my organization, or do we take the punt and pay? This against my advice. I would never recommend recommend paying it, but that's just my advice. If you do the good prepared work, you don't need to pay the ransom. But organizations don't do it. They find themselves in a situation, so they'll pay that ransom. And then, unfortunately, that feeds that criminal gang and that criminal organization, and then it just spirals into the next and onto the next. And then they find themselves in a position now where the time to recover such a large organization is going to take a significant amount of time, and working out what data has been lost and what they're responsible for reporting as well.
Because you'd imagine that, depending on what they can evidence, there might be a hefty, on top of all the losses that there is already, is there any more hefty fines?
Yeah, you look at the ICO, I think it's 4% of turnover.
Is that what it is
of
now?
An organisation. Yeah, I think of Marks and Spencer's, that's a significant amount, and it can be, I think, up to a little limited fine. So it's a significant impact. Not only are they losing of their productivity, their operational and reputational, but they can also get stung through governance fines as well, which it's going to be a hard time for them, and I bet they're working tirelessly at the minute to try and get that back up and running.
I think I read something like they've lost something like 700 million off their like market value or something crazy like that. And again, this is all speculation.
Yeah,
obviously the cost of approximately 300 million that they've lost. I'm sure I read somewhere that they're actually only probably insured up to 200 million. So that if they're effectively maybe in 100 million hole, it'd be really interesting to know. I mean, not that there's an easy decision to make should you have paid the ransom, but like you say, it'd be interesting to know what that ransom was at the time, and whether it's just a policy of we don't negotiate with terrorists or this type thing. Or
so in my time in the NCSC, my job would have been, I would have been managing an event like this.
Right. Okay.
The most serious cyber incidents that came into the UK, they get triaged, and the most serious ones would come to something like myself. We're always asked the question, would you negotiate? Our response, a government official role is you never negotiate, you never pay. However, there's always that thing in the back of my mind, and now especially as a business owner, say for example, we have, let's say we have £100 in the bank, and we're hit with a ransomware, and they say, we want £10 reward. You pay this, we'll give you everything back. or my company goes under. I know I can afford it. I know morally I shouldn't, but then you start thinking, well, actually, it's either I'm going to lose everything, or I go back to where we are and I take it on the head, and you kind of question the morality of the company and the threat actors. But they work on reputation as well.
Yeah.
So they'll say they openly communicate quite often and say, we'll tell you how we got in, we'll tell you your vulnerabilities, we'll tell you how to fix it in the future, and we'll give you all your data back. And you say, well, why would I trust them? Well, they work on their credibility, because if them as a ransomware threat actor don't do what they say, no one's ever going to pay it.
Yeah.
So it's a very bad position.
It's a leap of faith, though, isn't it?
Very bad position. But yeah, just for the record, I say never pay. Never pay.
Crazy. Yeah, I mean, like we were saying, I think we a number of conversations, this stuff's just not going away because of just how lucrative it is.
Yeah.
I mean, just you know, a simple stat here that ransomware attacks are up 126% globally. I mean, wow. I just can't see it. So, you know, another one, global cost of cybercrime projected to reach 24 trillion by 2027.
Yeah.
And they're just getting more and more clever and sophisticated. I mean, one we were talking about, which I wasn't aware, and really, again, this is where the awareness part comes in.
Sure.
Is like the QR code scams we were talking about.
Yes, yeah.
Again, if I saw a QR code that was relevant to what I was doing, I probably wouldn't think twice of sort of scanning that and potentially falling foul.
Yeah.
You know.
So the one we were chatting about yesterday, delivering it to my training class, is a couple of individuals. I think a couple of students. What they did was they printed off some stickers, QR code stickers, and they placed them on the car parks, on the car parking meters in some London car parks. And what they did is they did it overnight. So the next morning, people came, they scanned the QR code, and it took them to a website that looked like the website that they were supposed to be going on, and it took a card payment from them, and they got very rich overnight. I think, unfortunately, they were that young and quite... you could tell it was opportunistic rather than planned. But I think they'd actually use their own bank account. And it's the reason it didn't take long to trace them. But yeah, I mean, these scammers are coming up with so many different ways. You can find these QR codes in restaurants, on top of tables. People think they're ordering food.
Everywhere.
And actually, they're not actually just lining the pocket. So my bit of advice for that is QR codes are great. I use them myself. Just check that URL, and the URL means the website. Just check that website, make sure it's taking you to where you're going. Always double check that, particularly as well when you're scanning to join like Wi-Fi. Is public Wi-Fi, I always say avoid. Use your phone if you can, as much as possible. If you have to use public Wi-Fi, then use a VPN. So just enable a VPN, and if you don't know what one is, then just have a quick look. And there's some very cheap, there's some free ones out there as well. But yeah, it's better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, there's a lot that the organizations can do. If you're working with an IT partner, a lot of this stuff, you know, I'm about to say now will be bread and butter or should be, but you know, there's a lot of information out there to set some of this up yourself. Yeah, but you know, as a minimum, you should have things like MFA. Yeah, we're all used to that these days between banking, but I'm a big believer, have it on everything that's important to you. Social media is, again, if you're an active user of social media, as we've said, from like the deep cloning, the deep faking and stuff like that, you should be protecting that. Cyber essentials, if you've got the time and the resources to do it, for sure, absolute no brainer. And you know the stuff that we've all come to sort of expect in terms of make sure your firewalls are up to date, you've got the right sort of level of antivirus. Try and, if you can, steer away from the free stuff. Make sure it's it's allowed for commercial use and things like that.
I think that's what I really enjoy about having an MSP. Everything's catered for. I don't have to do that searching.
Yes.
You manage my multi-factor authentication, advise on the VPN, you manage all my access policies, do my antivirus and firewalls.
We've got to, mate. It's kind of, if we don't be proactive and we don't be thinking about that stuff constantly and progressively, you know, threats evolve all the time. You know, what's right for you right now probably isn't going to be the same thing that's right for you in 18 months.
Exactly.
So we have to keep sort of that, you know, that eye on the ball and look at what's happening, try and learn from, you know, the threats out there. there's always something that sneaks through. Like you say, we go back to the very start. We talk about, people giving the keys to the kingdom away, and there's always varying sort of new attacks, especially in the whole sort of emergence of AI. As we're saying, deepfake's just one. I mean, what AI allows people to do now in terms of the scale and automation of some of these attacks.
It's a great tool, but it's a scary tool as well.
Yeah.
From our side, I mean, we did a talk to a finance company, I'm not going to name, but they were unawarely looking at putting information into ChatGPT. I mean, people that use ChatGPT, it's a great tool. It saves time. It's fantastic. It helps structure documents as well as other things. And when putting in for bids and tenders and drafting emails, companies will very easily just put the bullet points into ChatGPT and get it to draft that information for them. What they're unaware and often unaware is that it's actually leaving their network.
Yeah.
You wouldn't write a sensitive note, pass it round the street, get someone to write it for you and bring it back.
It's a good analogy, actually.
But yeah, that's what you're doing with AI and using ChatGPT.
Yeah.
So another tip is anonymize everything. You can use it, just take out that sensitive bit of information and add it in later. It takes a couple of seconds longer, but you're not leaving your organization.
You're just covering your bit. I mean, I use a bit of both. ChatGPT, whenever I use that, it's hypothetical.
Yes.
It's anonymous.
Yeah.
Get the points in that you need, but don't use, any names,
sure.
any sort of identifiable information. If you want to be able to use AI in a bit more controlled way, Copilot's the route to go, because that is basically sits within your Microsoft tenancy. It's learnt on your data, but it doesn't send stuff outside.
Yeah. I think that's key, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, mate.
And that's something you guys do as well, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. I mean, again, there's a big awareness piece around, again, the use of AI and making sure you've got all the foundations in place, because a lot we've had some new customers sort of come to us that we've not done the initial implementations. They're like 365 deployments, and they want to harness AI and they want to sort of work more efficiently and more productive, but they've not done they've not done any form of like security permissions review.
Yes.
So all of a sudden, if a certain person was inclined, they'd probably find they could get access to quite sensitive information within that business without knowing they had access to it before. So again, you have to have that awareness that when you're using AI, even internally, have we put the right measures in place that if someone were to go rogue or someone's looking to leave, is our data secure?
For sure.
So yeah, it's a scary time. I think it'd be interesting to see where we are. Like say, with AI being sort of used to scale and automate a lot of these attacks, I think the only really way we're going to find we can fight some of this stuff is fight AI with AI.
Yeah.
And it's we're kind of in the hands of Microsoft and OpenAI and other vendors to kind of try and use these tools for good rather than evil.
Exactly. And so threat actors are using AI now to form attacks. It's complex code, script kiddies. So something we covered the other day. What are script kiddies? Script kiddies are opportunistic individuals that are learning themselves and testing something.
Yeah.
With the implementation and introduction of AI, it's so easy to be able to go more complex and kind of a more complex attack than what it would be by having to continuous amounts of reading, etc.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the stuff that I'm not technical in that respect, but I understand the concepts, and I think that's all you need.
Yeah.
If you know the concepts and do a little bit of research into AI, it will develop kind of attack vectors for you. It'll promote vulnerabilities. But I say use that in its advantages, like what you said there. Do it to look upon yourself. See what's out there about yourself. See what your organization is showing on AI. See what kind of discovery you can find. See what vulnerabilities you've got, and then protect against them. So yeah, use it for your advantage.
So you've done a really good advantage there of like using sort of those tools for sort of good.
Yes.
Now, what's your sort of view? You look at sort of now compared to when myself and you were sort of young and looking for your first job. Like when I was coming out of school and college, YouTubers and social media influencers weren't really a thing. What do you think the risk is that young people coming up now that understand sort of how they can use AI will kind of think, well, what's the point in me getting a job? I can use sort of AI and my knowledge to sort of live a life of crime,
Yeah, and that's a problem because crime pays, and for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
But they see it as crime pays.
Yeah.
And with it being so hard to find a job, young apprenticeships having to put the work in, having to start and do that traditional route, they see an option potentially of, like the car parking analogy.
Yeah.
Oh, I can make a fair few pound just by doing this. Because it's an easy route and an easy option. What I would say is, do you know what? Use that skill and harness that skill and come and work for someone like us that protect in cybersecurity. We will always give people like that a chance because they're thinking outside the box. But I always say it's much more rewarding being able to give something back and something good, and you can sleep at night knowing your door's not going to get smashed in with the police coming for you, because at the end of the day, keep the right side and you've got a good, prosperous career going forward.
Yeah, mate. Well, I think, thanks for coming on. It's been really insightful. And like I say, anybody that is watching, I would encourage, speak to Chris at Optimise.
Cheers,
even if it's a headline conversation, just to get an understanding of where you can help and maybe identify some gaps in, in organisations' process planning, needs and things like that. But yeah, no, thanks for coming on.
No, cheers, mate. Lovely to have you, and hopefully come back again.
Absolutely, mate. No, it's great to chat with you. Great to chat with you.
Yeah, love the setup. Great people. Thank you.
No, thank you. So yeah, that's it for this episode. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.